Yeah, dude, I'm so excited to talk to you, man. I think the last time we did a podcast was like fuck what, like 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah, it's
maybe.
probably been like 3 years, and I was the
Yeah,
one
man.
interviewing you.
Yeah, I know,
It's so crazy.
dude. You had the big balls. You made the big move. You made it to New York. What is it like out there?
It's getting better. When I first came out here, it was just silent. Like there was nothing going on. Everything was still shut down. Um, like there was no bars open. Everyone was like still
Mm,
staying like really like away from each other. But now like
yeah,
slowly everything's opening up. The bars are back open. I think everything fully opens like in July, like July 1st. But I've been like slowly like getting out, checking out bars, and just been like little spots here that I haven't like been able to go to yet. But it's
yeah.
been kind of a trip, bro. It's been
How did you
crazy.
even? How did you even like manage to even get out there? Like, did you know somebody?
Well, it was
Did you
crazy
have a
because
job lined up?
I actually so I was supposed to move out here. I was supposed to move out here last year with my friend from college, and we were supposed to get an apartment together. And we were saving up money. I lived at his place. I slept on his couch for like 4 months, and we were just saving as much money as I can. I had a car, and I sold my car. Um, I sold my car like 3 months before I was supposed to leave, so I was just like crashing out at his place and like catching rides. And I had like a good chunk of change saved up, and we were like getting ready to move, and we had our Airbnb like set to like find an apartment and kind of check the areas where we wanted to live. And our Airbnb day, I shit you not, was like March 15th, 2020, and that was like 2 days after they shut everything down, like the complete like shutdown of New York City. So me and my friend were like, "Fuck,
No
we're so
shit.
screwed." And we kind of like scrambled, like, "Well, I guess we're not going. We have to push it back." And so I just kind of like crashed at like like family different family members' houses, and I just saved more money, more money, more
Yeah,
money. And
yeah.
then finally, like, I reached a point where I couldn't keep doing that because I just had to get my own place or something. And I was like, well, if I'm going to spend money, I'd rather just spend money over there if I have to. So I took the jump in October, and I was like, fuck it. I found a place in Craigslist, and I kind of had an idea of an area I wanted to be in, and I just went for it at that point.
So why New York City versus like LA or
Well,
Miami or
I wanted to do LA like maybe 4 years ago. And
yeah.
that was the thing. I was like, I'm going to LA. I like LA more than New York. Oh. And then I went out to LA the first time, and I was like, oh man, I don't really like it out here. Just a totally different vibe,
Mm,
like than what I was feeling. And I was like, okay. So I came back, and I was kind of just like, oh, I'm just gonna chill in Austin for a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? Let me give like LA one more shot. And I went out again, had the same feeling. Like it just didn't make me feel comfortable. It was not my like vibration. You know how they say that. And so I was like, fine, fuck it.
yes,
And
and you know
then
what?
what were we saying? It was
No,
like
I feel the same way about LA. Like
yeah,
LA is
it's like when I came, and then I was like, you know what? Let
dude.
me come to New York, and I came to New York, and I was like, oh wait, it's actually a good, like it felt good. There was like the pacing was good, the just the energy and everything. Everyone else talks about like it's kind of like a joke, like oh the energy of New York is just so blah, blah. Everyone says that, but it's like it's kind of true if it's your speed and everything. Like definitely New York is where like shit's happening. It's fast and it's there. It's not it's not pretty, but it's like it's where all the action is basically. There's not a lot of that
Yeah.
superficial like who you know. It's kind of like what you can do instead. That's what I liked
That
about
is
it.
exactly how I feel, dude. Yeah, yeah. I remember going to LA, and it's always like that. It's always like, oh, what have you done? What can you do for me kind of attitude.
Hmm.
And in New York, everybody over there is like, it looks like everybody in New York when I went there, is always about like, are you working on your profession? this
Mm,
isn't your hobby.
mm,
You want to be an actor or a photographer or whatever.
yeah.
What are you doing? How are you getting there? Good, man. Like they want to see you
Mhm.
progress. It's not about like this weird like social circle you can create. It's like
Yeah.
putting in the hard work to get where
Mhm.
you want to go. Um,
Because
because
it does feel
acting,
like survival out here. Like everyone's just like trying. Because this like living here sucks. Like it's not set up good, you know, and everyone knows that. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just feels like we're in it together, and we're all pushing that same direction together, you know, no matter what you're into. Whereas I feel like in LA, I just felt like alone. Like there was just like you're on your own. You either like you make it or you don't. You can't you can't get anywhere without meeting somebody or getting introduced somewhere. Whereas here, it's like people are just out working other people to get somewhere.
Right. I I love New York, man. I hope that after I get out of the service here, I can try and move somewhere to like one of the universities, like NYU or Juilliard or some crazy shit like that. But um, dude, I can't wait to fucking be out there with you, man.
Dude,
I
that'd be
can't
so
wait.
sick, dude.
That'd be yeah, man.
For sure.
That's
I
the
think you for
fucking that's the
sure
world.
like because you got the whole GI Bills thing set up right afterwards.
Yes, yes,
Dude,
sir. Yeah,
cash
yeah.
that thing in for whatever you want, dude. Because like
Almost. Yeah.
it's such a difference if you don't have that debt. Because I have a shitload of debt on my back from like going to like art school and shit, and
Yeah.
it's just so much like you're so much more mobile and like what you can do and what you can't do if you don't have that on your back. And it's just it's way I think it's way worth
Well,
it if
the
you're gonna
GI
go to
Bill,
school
man.
because nowadays you don't even need to go to fucking school. But if you get to go to school for free and do whatever like in something you want, dude, that's like a win-win-win. So I say like just go
Right.
ball
And they
school.
also it's not just the school too though. It's also like when you're going to school, you get you get your housing paid for.
There you
So
go.
in
See, like,
Manhattan, the
there
zip
you
code
go.
for
Yeah,
Manhattan, it's like 3,000 a month to
yeah,
live off of every month.
hmm
Isn't that fucking crazy?
yeah. And
So I
honestly,
was
that's not
thinking,
even
you know,
enough. Like at some points,
I know it's
yeah.
for sure. Like I still need to get a roommate or something like that.
Mm,
But I was apartment hunting and I did see a couple of apartments that were like they were like 1,500 a month. You
yeah.
know,
That was another thing
but
why I just took the jump because everybody like there was like everybody was leaving New York at that time around the time I
mhm.
jumped in, and like apartments just kept getting lower and lower and lower, and there was like there's so much room to just jump in and like you had a lot of leverage over the landlords here at that time, and
Yeah,
I just wanted to like squeak in at the last minute and like just chill because right now everyone's trying to come back because it's like opening up, things are moving back again, and so
mm,
I feel like I made it like just in time for like things to be popping again and not have to like compete with so many people to get a place.
yeah,
It was so easy to get a place during the pandemic because nobody wanted to be here.
yeah. Everybody expected it to be a way different a way different outcome.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember being in the service while it happened, and we thought it was we
That's
thought it was
true.
going to be a doomsday.
I never talked to anybody that was in the service during the whole fucking thing. How did that happen? Like what
Well,
was
man, I was in I was in weather school at the time in Mississippi, and it was uh it was very solitary. It was very dark.
really?
um, yeah, man. I mean they took away a lot of my privileges.
Oh wow.
Um, I was only allowed to walk within a triangle area on the base. I wasn't allowed to go get groceries. I wasn't allowed to put gasoline in my car.
Oh my god.
I was getting pulled out of my car talking to a friend or my girlfriend or whatever. Um, they wouldn't allow us to. We have cameras in our room, so we weren't allowed to walk out of the room without a mask on. So
Oh
if they
wow.
caught you without a mask, walking out of your room to just like visit or hang out, like you're gonna get disciplined for it. So
Damn.
there was no booze. There was no. I, I used to deal vapes
Oh my god.
because people couldn't get out of the base, so kids
Mm.
wanted to vape and whatever. And Going through the schoolhouse, man, that school was rough. Like there, I was waking up at 4 a.m. every day. Um, and I had to walk to school about a mile and a half. And just because it's Mississippi, you know, you're drenched in sweat
Mm.
at 4 a.m. in the morning. And dude, my classroom, sometimes they didn't have air conditioning. So you're
God.
just trying to learn weather, just all messed up all day, just people barking at you all the time. It was definitely a big test of like, can you handle this stress?
Yeah.
Can
That
you
sounds
handle how
intense,
crazy this
bro.
is?
Yeah.
So when COVID happened, I mean, everything was just kind of taken away. I was dating a civilian at the time, actually, in
Oh yeah.
Mississippi,
Oh, I think yeah.
and
I think you were like that's the last time I talked to you
I don't know this. I've had quite a couple of girlfriends
too.
now,
Okay.
but anyway, this one, she thought I was lying when I started telling her, like, hey, like, you know, they're shutting the base down. I can't get out of here. I don't know what's going to happen. She thought, no, come on. Like, they're not
Mm.
letting you out of the base. I was like, yes, I'm not kidding. Like, looks like this COVID thing is going to be for real. And once she heard it on the news, like, oh, like, military members can't be leaving the base. She's like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
so we had to break up because of COVID. Right.
Yeah.
So broke up with her because of that. And then I ended up dating like a military girl after that. But it's just weird, man. Just a weird place.
Has
And
it gotten more lax now? Now that it's kind of like
yes, yeah. On the base now, now that I'm operational, I have a lot more freedoms to me. I'm basically like a regular guy now. That's
yeah.
pretty much how it is. Other than like the weird like routine phone call to like in case of an emergency, they'll call us all up at like random times to make sure that
Mm.
we're around or something. But yeah, right now it's a much better thing. Um, but during that period of time, like we would have there was like a slideshow, or not a slideshow. There was like a website, and it would show like COVID deaths like
Yeah.
rising, and you could just
Hmm.
see like it looked like World War Z or some
Yeah.
shit. Like like there was just this black website with like the red numbers, and it was just like rising, rising. They're like, dude,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the end of the world, man. We were sitting
Yeah.
there like get ready, man, because like Russia and China know that we're weak right now. They're gonna come get us. Like you're the future of the military. Like
Oh
you
my
need to like pick
God.
it up. And we were just sitting there like is this going to be as crazy as we're projecting? Like
Mhm.
how bad is this going to be? Right. So
Yeah.
thankfully it wasn't.
Thank
But
God. I mean, you kind of forget, like, as things started opening up, I was like, oh, things are getting better. And then when I went to get my
yeah,
vaccine, it was like through like a mass vaccination site with FEMA and everything, and it was like white tents, people in like BDUs. I was like, dude,
chemical suits and shit.
yeah, I was like, this is like pretty serious stuff. Like, what? Like, I never thought I would live through something like this, and you kind of forget until you see that, and it's like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
It's been a hell of
Yeah,
a
man.
year.
It's been a weird year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And uh, this podcast today, I really wanted to go over a couple of things about photography, man, because I don't really know too much about photography,
Mhm.
and I was like a photojournalist in high school, but I was literally just like clicking the fucking button, hoping it
Yeah.
was a cool shot. I don't
Mhm.
know how to do any of the color correction or. So anyway, my question for you was when did you know you even wanted to be a photographer? Because you can look at like some of our best cinematographers in movies, or some of the best photographers, and they always have like an interesting story of like how it started, like Stanley
Yeah.
Kubrick, where he was just playing around and he ended up being like on a newspaper, and that ended up being in movies.
Yeah.
you know how did you find your path as a photographer?
I mean, it's just like it all started when I was like really young. I think I was like 13, and I wanted just a video camera to like make YouTube videos because like that was when YouTube was like the golden age of YouTube when everyone was just uploading random stuff, and I was like I really wanted to just make videos. And my grandma gave me just like a little point and shoot like camera, and it didn't record video, but I was like, I'll play around with it, and I would just like take random pictures and set stuff up like little still lives, and I liked it. I was like, oh, I kind of like this more, and so I kind of just leaned into it, and I started getting better cameras, and I didn't take it seriously. It was just like something I did in high school. Like I would just bring my camera to high school and just take pictures of random shit, and Like I was garbage. Like it was I was taking pictures of the dumbest stuff, and I never really took myself as like a
Yeah.
photographer. And then it was like senior year, and I was like, well, like I need to go to college. I need to get some. I need to do something. Like this is like, what am I gonna do in my life? And I was like, I guess I could just go to school for photography. Like I like photography, and I guess I could like maybe make a career out of that. I was just kind of like a shot in the dark moment for me. And then I was like, fine. So I found an art school, um, and I went in. And then I think in college is when I really got the like, this is what I really like, you know, like learning about past photographers and like different eras and just like the way things work. That's when I started getting like really serious about it. And I would say since then, it's just been constant like learning and learning and learning and testing and learning. And you just kind of evolve through that, you know? But there was never really a moment of like,
Yeah, like
this is what I want to do with my life when I picked up a camera. It was more of a like, well, what the fuck?
okay.
Like, what could I do with my life, you know?
So it ended up just being like a hobby that you found out you could make like money with. That's kind of
I mean, kind of. I never connected photography to money. And it was just like that pressure of like, well, you have to go to school, you have to do something, you know? And I was like, I don't really know what I
oh,
want to
okay.
do, but I do like doing this. And so I just kind of like doubled down on it. And every, every stage of my life, I'm just like, okay, double down again and double down again and double down again. And it's kind of like, it becomes just how you think. And now I don't know how to do anything but photography, you know?
What's your favorite style of shooting? What do you like? I know that before before I met you, you were taking some more like nude style, like a lot of like real sexy looking kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And about the time I left, you started jumping into like a completely different style. You started doing like headshots.
Mm,
Um, I know that like one time me and you went out and we just did like an improvisation, and that was super fun.
yeah.
Um, and I love your work, man. Like anytime I see something cool, I always like to share it around and say, "Hey, man, look, this is one of my buddies. Check out this sick like shot of this, pink background chick, sexy chick, tattooed. She's got like I don't know, blowing bubble gum out of her mouth or something. Like it's
Yeah.
just cool, man. I love your shit. But
Thank you.
what
Yeah. It's just kind
what's
of
your
like,
what's your favorite style? Like which one do you
it's,
just like
it's
enjoy doing?
hard because I just like, I get so, oh, this is new. I want to try that. Or like, this is new. I like that. And I kind of like, I did a lot of like nude erotic work in the beginning because that's what I was like really, I still feel like that is what I like to do, like as my personal work because
Yeah,
I just get a lot of inspiration from a lot of the like 70s, 60s, like erotic photographers. And I kind of like, it just comes natural to me when I want to shoot that stuff. It just feels like I'm just drawing or sketching. You know, it doesn't feel like I'm putting too much thought into it. It just feels like more of a release, like a creative release. So that's what I like to do. And then around the time where I was doing headshots, I was like, okay, well, like I need to start making money. So like, let me just try to learn how to do headshots so I can make some money. And I just learned that. I picked that up, and I was just practicing headshots. And then ultimately, like when I was in college and stuff, I always really liked shooting fashion and stuff. And it was just hard because I didn't like any of the fashion that was around in like my area in Texas because it's not really known for that. There's not a lot of it there. So I kind of gravitated more towards just like the erotic stuff and like fine art nudes. And it wasn't until I decided to come to New York that I switched that up, and I was like, okay, I want to focus a little bit more on fashion and learn more about fashion and shoot fashion. And now that I'm here, I've actually been working on a lot of still life sets instead. So it's kind of like I haven't even really done fashion since I've been here. I've been learning a lot of like still life photography and product photography and stuff like that. So I've just kind of been, I'm just in this weird like, where do I want to go, you know, with my photography? And I never really know. I just like, I see something, I want to try it. I try it, and then I'm like, all right, well, what's next? Like, I want to learn this part now. I want to learn this. There's never a
yeah.
straight line with me. It's always like all over the place.
I only have two friends, you and another buddy of mine. His name's Jay, that I know are photographers. Like that is like the thing they do. That when you see a picture of theirs, that's their style. That's
Yeah,
like, that's an EJ Muniz photo right there.
yeah,
Um, like if my other buddy, he does more like nature, animals, like a National Geographic kind of stuff.
mm-hmm.
Buffaloes out in the snow and they got
Mm-hmm.
scars on their eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I guess my question for you is the kind that you do, like headshots or erotica or fashion. What kind of camera or lights, like what do you even look for when you buy equipment like that? Is there a key difference between like a camera you can buy like at Best Buy or Amazon, or like a custom shop? Is like, what are you looking for when you
So
look for a camera?
it's all like a lot of people when they first get started off are like, "Oh, what camera are you using?" And it's like you once you know a little bit more about just like photography in itself, you start to realize that they're all just like tools. They're just like paintbrushes. So it's kind of like I would when people are like, "Oh, I want to buy a camera. I want to be a photographer. So I want to buy all this equipment and get that." And I always just say like, just don't buy anything. Like rent everything and play with everything and learn how to use it. And then when that need comes, like, hey, I've noticed I keep needing to use this thing. That's when you buy it. So like with my headshots and my like other stuff, I don't use the same camera ever. It's always everything's situational. So like my personal work, I use a lot of film and analog photography. So I'll use like a 35 millimeter like SLR or like a point and shoot film point and shoot. And I would never shoot that stuff for a headshot. But for a headshot, I have like a 2 light setup with my digital SLR and a certain lens. Like everything is just so. There's nothing that covers everything. You have to go into like little minute areas of understanding. Well, this does that, and this does this. But I always recommend any photographer, if you're just starting off, or you're like, hey, I really like photography, I really want to like start this. I always recommend getting a disposable camera, like over everything,
Okay.
because even if you're using your phone, the amount of like space on your phone and like it's too like it's too documentary. It just feels like you're writing a note when you take a picture of your phone. But when you take a picture with a film disposable a point and shoot, it's literally like you're just putting something in a frame, and that's it, and you get 24 shots. So it makes you sit there and like really think about what you're putting on this frame. And I think that's the most important thing about photography is what is this frame. It's more important than lighting. It's more important than what camera you're using. It's more important than anything. It's just what are you putting right here. And a lot of people get wrapped up in the lighting and like technique and all that. But at the end of the day, if there's something boring in this square, like your picture is still gonna suck, you know. So I always
Dude, that's a
recommend,
really badass piece of advice.
yeah, I always recommend just learn how to like fill that up with what you want, and everything else will fall into place. I know so many photographers. I know I've taken master classes and I've like learned so many of these like huge photographers that they don't even know what the fuck they're doing with their camera. They don't know how to use it. They ask their assistants how to use it. And it's just all about because they focus on what the actual image is instead of how to get that image. So don't even like trip about that. That shit's it'll all fall into place once you like keep going.
Do you feel like the iPhone has kind of been a killer in the photography world? Because I mean, it's almost like everybody's a fucking photographer on, like everybody's an Instagram star. Everybody,
Yeah.
they have like all these filters and all these like applications to use on an iPhone now,
Hmm.
right? Like I even see short films that are even being done with like
Yeah.
an iPhone tripod, and they look cool, they look good, but um, there is definitely a clear difference when I see something coming from you, that especially the whether it's black and white. I know you do a lot of black and white too, but I'm really drawn to like when you do something that's just like smack in the face yellow, and then
Yeah.
you've got you've got the really beautiful look, and
Mhm.
you know how to like set the tone with the eyes. I love how you you just you choose how to really grab somebody's attention, and it grabs me every time, man. I love seeing it.
Make me blush over here, man. All these compliments. No, I
What
appreciate that. I think
what
I think the iPhone it's a double edged sword, you know. But at the end of the day, it's a camera. You gotta respect the camera no matter what it is. And I think a lot of people they just try to follow the rules to make they try to make a composition look like a composition, you know. They try the rule of thirds. They try to make everything look really like composed and cinematic and like a nice shot when they shoot on the iPhone, which is good. It's good that they're learning those rules, but it just makes everything look the same. Everyone's shooting the same photo at that point, you know?
yeah,
And it's
that mass
just too
produced.
easy to just pick up and snap, 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 filter, filter, filter. That it just kind of takes you away from the bigger picture of like, well, let's say you're taking a picture of this mountain range, and you're trying to make it look really pretty and cinematic, and you're focusing so much on the lighting, and then you go into editing and you bring up the saturation, you bring up the shadows, and you get it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, and it's kind of like you don't stop and ask yourself, well, why am I taking a picture of this? You know, what am I trying to say with this photo? Is it like, are you trying to see the grand, like, are you playing with space? You know, are you playing with scale? Are you trying to make something feel like really isolated? I think the best advice I ever like heard when I was like, because I all I do is research other photographers and like listen to them and like people that I look up to. And I think the best advice I ever got was Larry Clark. Um, he's a director too. He did kids. He does a lot of like photos. And his advice was there's three things in a photograph. There's light, there's shadow, and there's feeling. And I feel like a lot of people forget that feeling part, and that's what makes the image. That's what like solidifies it and makes it like this is a tangible thing. And so when I shoot, I try to get the feeling like what like my emotional feeling I get is like really standoffish and really like confrontational. So when you see like my portraits and stuff, everyone looks kind of like in your face, but like guarded, you know? Because I think that's how I perceive myself when I meet new people. I'm pretty much guarded and I'm standoffish. So when I shoot people, I like them to look like that.
Interesting, dude.
Yeah.
I've never. Wow, that's really cool to like pick your brain to kind of understand how you work.
Yeah.
Uh, another question would be: so you mentioned a photographer you really look up to. Do you have a couple of others that maybe you want to like throw in the hat here? Some that you either find really interesting or you've been kind of emulating or looking up to. Even cinematographers. Do you have like a favorite like a certain style of movie that's been shot? Maybe do you have any movies that come to mind where you think like, oh man,
Yeah.
that was a really good
I
image?
mean, my whole entire like every a lot of people go there's like two types of photographers. There's somebody that doesn't look at other photographers and somebody that does look at other photographers. And I love learning about all the like masters before me, and I love like putting them on a pedestal and learning from them and just like what was their thought process and how do they think. And I mean, there's two books. I can get them right now. These right here. This one right here, I think every photographer should read this one. It's Helmut Newton autobiography, and it just shows like his entire upbringing in photography and like the things he went through and how he came to America and like tried to shoot for Vogue at 27 and they like hated his photos and how he became like one of the world's most influential like fashion photographers. So that was like really good and like a lot of information to learn and it gets you thinking. And then the other one is this one right here, Robert Capa. He was one of the I would still say he's the biggest like war photographer, and just hearing like the shit he goes through in the like line of fire is just like insane, and it just kind of puts everything into perspective. And it just feels good to learn what they went through. Because when you're shooting, like
Hmm.
my entire time I've been shooting and doing this stuff, I've just felt so alone. Like I just feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just kind of out here alone figuring it out. But seeing them and hearing them, you kind of like, okay, I've been there. I've seen something like that. It kind of just keeps you in that lane. If that makes sense.
You, do you have any movies that really draw your attention with the cinematics?
Movies,
Because I know
Gaspar,
some photographers they'll transfer over.
yeah, Gaspar. I forgot his Gaspar. No, or how do you say his last name? Have you heard of him? He did Enter the Void.
I don't think so, but I
He
can.
did Love.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, yeah, that's the
Yeah,
French guy.
yeah.
Into the
His
Void. That was a crazy ass movie.
Yeah, his movies inspire me a lot. I love the way he sets up his framing and like all like just the way he tells a story is so dope. And then obviously Larry Clark is like one of my go tos. He's a photographer slash filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Enter the Void, man, because I've never seen a movie shot like that ever in my life. That was such a
Yeah.
unique experience, being able to like see overhead, going through like um, they would go through like poles or fences, or
Mhm.
just having the feeling of being a ghost in some of these areas is just that was
Yeah.
pretty badass.
If you like that one, you should watch Love. I think it was on Netflix, and it's just the way his setups look so emotional and like I don't know. It's just the way he shoots it is so beautiful, and it could be like there's a scene. I think the opening scene for Love is this girl giving this guy a blowjob, and but the
Yeah,
way
you
he
know what?
shoots it,
I have seen this movie.
yeah, the way he shoots it in the lighting and like
It's
the
got
emotion into it is like spot on.
is Salma Hayek in this movie?
No, not in Love.
I can't remember. I think I have seen this movie though. It's like another dark, like real super real, kind of
Yeah.
like Enter the Void was. It was really intense.
Everything
It was
he
hard to
does is
watch
like really
sometimes.
dark.
Yeah, dude, it's like a movie you kind of have to like mentally prepare for before you watch. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, I've seen this before. I know like
It's like
this
it
scene is
feels
going to be
like a
rough to
trip.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm about to take a trip right now.
Yeah, shit like that. Um, yeah, I'm glad you brought up that guy. He's a good dude. Let's see. Another question I have for you: who are some of the most interesting people you've worked with so far, and what is it like working with beautiful women all day? Like, do you just is that just a
I
great
mean,
part of the job
honestly,
for you?
it's not like
Is it just
it's so
it's a
it's
real
so
perk, right?
different when you're like shooting them because like I don't even it's more of like what am I trying to get out of them or like how am I gonna they're more like props, and I don't say that like I say that for everybody I shoot,
No, I know what you're saying.
yeah, and so it's kind of
Yeah,
like
they're a part. They're a tool for the outcome. Yeah.
mhm. I don't like I honestly hate shooting portraits, and when I mean portraits I don't mean just pictures of people, I mean like trying to capture someone's likeness. Like I really don't like that. I just feel like it's too intimate for me. That's why I like shooting them how I see them or how I want to make them, if that makes more sense. So I kind of try
Mhm.
to take away their own personality from the photo and kind of direct them into what I want them to be. And so when I'm shooting these models and everything, it's kind of like I'm trying to make like a scene or like set up a like a feeling instead of so much like oh you're so hot like I just want to capture your beauty. Like it's more of like
Right.
I want to put them in this like in a setting and I want this out of it. It would be the same. Like
Mm.
I feel like I shoot the same when I shoot a product or I shoot a location. It's very like hands on, manipulating, moving around, and not so much a reflection of who they are or what I'm shooting. If that makes more sense. But I mean, it's dope. I love
Who
shooting
are
like
some of
talent,
the
and
most
they're all great. Everyone I work with, it's just You know, it is what it is. How I shoot them.
Do you have anybody that comes to mind as far as being interesting or very eccentric? You have anybody that's kind of just like, oh man, I can't wait to work with this person. You have anybody in mind
Yeah, I
like that?
mean,
Have
I
you
had a
worked with
lot
anybody
of
famous
it.
yet?
No, yeah, I wish. Um, I had a lot of it in Austin where I just had relationships with these people and we just kept shooting and I was like, oh, like she gives me this, like she opens up or she does this really well. And now that I've been here in New York, I think I'm just more focused on meeting more people here instead of like shooting them. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like that switch because I just had like my circle in Austin where I would work with the same people and get certain things out of them. But here, it's just a whole new like ball game, and so I'm basically starting from scratch again. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah, I've
thing
seen
that
you do a couple of different shoots, I guess.
yeah, I've done a couple of test shoots here, and I'm just kind of like I'm honestly just getting my feet wet and just like oh like how do these people shoot and how do they like what's their work ethic like do they come in, do they cancel, do they flake, like I'm just kind of getting the vibe.
Hmm.
Everything I've been shooting out here has been really simple. I don't want to like get too crazy and think of like conceptual things or like I want to do a certain style because everything's new here. You know, I'm kind of just putting my feelers out.
What's some of the best stuff you've done in New York City? Just anything, just as far as a life experience. Has anything really kind of drawn your attention?
Honestly, like just running around is like my favorite thing to do. Like just be end up in a random
Hmm.
spot or a random place to eat or a random place to like drink and just. I think the best part is just meeting people. I'm just trying to meet as many people as I can, just because everyone's so interesting over here. Everyone has like their own thing they're doing. It just feels like I'm meeting a lot of people like
Yeah,
me.
now that you mentioned that, I know a couple of actors in New York City. Maybe I can link you up with them if you want to do like a I don't know some sort of shoot with them. I'm sure
Yeah.
they would even be down to pay for like headshots or something. But I know a lot of actors that are like in the Manhattan area. Actually, they
Mhm.
uh, they're at the Meisner School over there. I don't know. Maybe that
Oh
might be
yeah.
like in your alley. Maybe they can like link you up with other actors. When I was in New York, man, I loved New York, but
Yeah.
I was not prepared when I went to New York City.
Really?
For those that don't know, when I went to New York City, I went to go try out for Juilliard, and I had an audition on my birthday. It was my birthday, January
I
27th.
remember this. I remember you telling me
Yeah,
that.
and I had no money. I lost my job. I still had my plane ticket. I was still prepared. I had everything ready to go, and I went to New York City with $20 in my pocket. So I was a little hungry for like the first couple days. You know what I'm saying? But when I got to New York, man, I did not have jackets for January. Like
Oh
I was not dressed for January.
damn.
So I was cold as a motherfucker. I had like one jacket and walking around like in Central Park, like my hands were frozen, homie. But I was so happy. I
Yeah.
was so excited to be in New York City and just like you said, just walking around and realizing that this is how people live. Like it is incredible what we're capable of. Those fucking buildings are they're Godzilla size. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I went out to New York City, I actually got to my brother wired me some money at the time because I was so broke, and he was like, "Hey man, I know it's your birthday. I know you're going through a rough time. You know, go check it out. See what happens." So he gave me enough money where I could get a Broadway show, you know, but on the cheaper
Nice.
side. So something that was,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not a big fan of musicals.
Mhm.
There's some that are very good, you know, like Les Miserables or dude, Cats was strange, but I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to go see the Book of Mormon on Broadway.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I mean, the little boy in me being in New York City, I mean, I was like, oh my God, I'm here, you know? And like, there was nothing like that. There's like,
Mhm.
even when I was in LA, like, I didn't feel like that. And have you ever seen Birdman? It's like that movie about actors.
No, that's with the
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, my no, I didn't see that one. I've been wanting to watch it though.
Watch it, man. Watch it
Yeah.
because you'll see a lot of spots in New York that you're probably
Mm,
familiar with. But I remember, like, I was like, "Holy shit! This is where they were walking down," and this
yeah.
is what it's. I'm where actors should be. You know,
Yeah.
this is where everybody wants to make their dreams come true. And I just remember so many feelings and so many thoughts going through my head of like, man, like, we really only have one life to live, man.
Yeah.
Why waste your time knowing that wherever you are, if you're not in Los Angeles, New York City, maybe London, maybe Miami, Chicago, one of those
Mm,
places, those big dreams of being an artist, it's it's going to be a lot harder for you to try and get those things in like Austin, Texas, or San Antonio or something like that.
that's I
It's
mean
it's
that's what this year kind
you
of
know
taught me. Like I kind of lived this year like I was gonna die because everything was just kind of crazy. So everything I was
time's
just like
running
fuck it,
out.
fuck
Yeah,
it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. I was spending money. I was doing this. I was just like fuck it, you know.
yeah, man.
It was just such a reality check with like how much all this shit can crumble down to, and I was like, well, I might as well just make the best of it because I never know when your time comes. So I just say go for it.
Exactly. And
Anybody, if you want to do something, just go for it.
yeah, yeah.
You have to lose.
Do you do you have any other artist friends like in the area in New York, or is it
Yeah,
just you
actually, I've been
really?
meeting some artists. I'm actually doing a show um, on the 20th with like this other photographer I just met. He invited me to go show with him. So it's me, him, and a painter, and we're doing like a gallery opening for like the summer kind of thing. So it's cool to just meet all these other
Mhm.
creative people here, especially here in this area. It's such a dope area for that.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. That sounds fucking cool.
Yeah,
And as far as work in New York City, so what's the tempo like? As a photographer, like,
it's
is it
just
enough to get by, or
go, go,
do
go.
you
I
have a
mean,
side job? Do you work as like a server? Or you?
no, I mean, I went in. So my plan to come to New York was like I just wanted to come and assist photographers for like 4 or 5 years and just kind of get
Mhm.
good understanding. And that's what I've been doing. I've just been photo assisting, and they're pretty good gigs. You make decent money doing it, so you just kind of once you get in, it's kind of like a current, and you just like once you're in it, like you're in it. You know, it's just about jumping in that current at the right time.
Yeah, like a niche.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so that's all I've been
And
doing
what's
to
your
like get by. It's
now
just
that you're in New York City?
uh,
Now that you're in New York City, what is your routine like? Like, what's your schedule? Because I know, like, when I went on the subway, I was like, whoa, like you have to make time
yeah.
to get on the subway before you go
Hmm.
anywhere, and then when you get home, that's another thing. Like, it's another commute. So
Yeah,
what is your lifestyle like? Has anything changed drastically from going to like a place like Austin, where you can just jump in your car and go
yeah.
wherever you want at any point of day, and you
It's
can kind of you know
it's like night and day. Like in Austin, like I feel like in Austin, you just kind of you can. It's really leisure. You can chill. There's not a rush. But here, like even trying to schedule this thing, like shit just kept popping up. I had to move shit around. Like it's like I feel like it's nonstop, just moving around because Monday through Friday, I'm photo assisting, and we're on set for like 10 to 12 hours every day. So I come home and I'm just fucking beat, and so by Friday I'm like dead. And then normally I would just die all weekend, just sleep and catch up. But now that things are opening up and people are like going out and people are like, hey, come here, come here. I kind of want to like explore that. So it's kind of like work hard, play hard on the weekends, and then just do it all over again. But it's
yeah,
just running around,
good, man.
working, and surviving, basically. That's what it feels like. And then just time flies. Like I feel like I just
Life.
moved here, and I've already been here for like 8 months, and I feel like I moved here like last month, and it's just like it just goes.
What do you have any goals? Do you have any like you have any goals, or do you have any like aspirations maybe of like where you want to be after those 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I think after the 4 or 5 years, I really just want to step into my own and be like do my own photography
Okay.
and like try to get an agent and try to get steady work. But it's like it's too fun right now for me to like get serious about it. Like I just love being on different sets. I love meeting all these people. I love just doing tests for no reason and just like I honestly just want to play for as long as I can until I'm like, okay, like maybe I should buckle down and get this thing rolling. Because in Austin, I had to like had to find money. I had to find ways to find like make money with my photography, and it was just like trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to do this, and it just took everything out of it that I haven't played in photography in so long. So now I'm just like I don't want that stress right now. I just want to like experience as much as I can right now. So after I feel like I've gotten a good taste and a good like solid foundation, I think that's when I'm gonna be like, okay, I think I'm ready to go out and do it.
Is there like any magazines that kind of like draw your attention? Like if you were walking into a bookstore
Yeah,
and you already know in your head like, oh man, I love the way this magazine, the
yeah.
way they portray these people, the way
Mhm.
just really unique kind of looks. Do you have anything that kind of comes to mind? I know you're into erotica. Do you look at Playboys every once in a while
That's what I
or
say. Like
Hustlers or something weird?
I've always just wanted to like be in Playboy. That's like if I could do that, that'd be so sick. More than like Vogue or more than like you know any of the
GQ.
fashion magazines.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only magazine I think of like, oh, I really want to do Playboy, especially now because they're so
Playboy's kind
like
of
aesthetic now. They have their like look, whereas before it was kind of like a little more just porn. Now it's kind of it's gone back to like the old school Playboys, and that's what I like about it. That's why I want to do it now because I'm really like into those old school Playboys, old school penthouse, like '60s stuff because that's like that's the art I'm really drawn to.
really. Did you When was the first time you saw a Playboy? Did it like did you see it a different way or did you just see it as like erotic?
I think the first time I saw Playboy as art was in college when I was just kind of like learning more about different photographers and like who shot what. And Helmut Newton used to do a couple of Playboy stuff, and so I, before that, I was just always like, oh, it's a smut magazine, you know, it's just fucking Playboy. But
Right, it's just dirty.
there's certain
Yeah.
areas of Playboy that I'm like, oh, like this is actually like really nice photography, or like even Penthouse. Penthouse had like a really good era of really good photography, like erotic photography, and it wasn't so much of like here's a naked girl and like she's hot. It was just like it was shot really well, it was composed really well, and like it had a really good like it just had a dope. They just had dope work. And now that that's kind of like circled
Yeah.
back, and that's kind of the vibe now. You see like a lot of these magazines popping up and online magazines popping up, and they're kind of using more of that artistic photography with erotic, you know, content. It's like now I feel like it's the time to like oh really appreciate that stuff.
Yeah. I remember watching this documentary on like Hustler,
Mm,
and it was interesting because it was talking about like why Hustler was getting popular again. And I've never I think maybe I skimmed through one maybe a year or two ago.
mm.
Um, I've skimmed through like maybe one or two Playboys, like, I don't go out there and buy them,
Yeah,
just because
mm,
porn is free. Like you can just
yeah,
go on your cell phone. But um, it was interesting in this documentary because they were talking about why Hustler was getting popular again,
mm,
and it was because they were doing photography, but it was like that explosive, like punk rock, like
mm,
real, like balls to the wall, just interesting kind of looks.
mm,
And they were talking about how like even the articles, they were just kind of like a real, like just things that really were grabbing people's attention. Like, and it was a lot of like music in the music inspired or like, some sort of extreme sport in there. Just a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of cool stories, graffiti art kind of styles, and of course, still erotic pictures. But there was a lot more to the table now than it was about just being a sexy chick.
Yeah.
Um, is Playboy still even? I don't know, man. I don't keep in the loop, but is Playboy still like up there? Because I know that after Hugh died, it's
It's
kind of
like it's up and it's
it's a
down.
different thing.
Like
Yeah.
it's definitely still there, but it kind of rises and falls in popularity. Um, but they're still pushing that old school vibe and like more. It feels more of appreciation of the art, and
Hmm.
I think they're doing a good job. It doesn't feel
Okay.
like that cheap. Here's like some tits, it really feels like they're like pushing a really aesthetic and like art focused magazine.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Now that we're talking about this, I'm thinking about going. I've seen them at bookstores. I'll go to like a
Yeah,
local bookstore, and there is Playboys there, you know.
yeah.
And it's like I see families in this store. I see like kids running around. So it's
Mhm.
not like a kid couldn't just walk up and just check out a Playboy.
Yeah,
But you're making me feel like, man, maybe I should really look at it in a different perspective. You know,
yeah.
take a moment to see if the photography is really as special and as and it has a lot of attention to detail and stuff like
Mhm.
that to it. Um,
Yeah,
I'll,
I think
I'll
they're
tell
doing.
you what. Next time I go see a Playboy, I promise I'm gonna check it out just for you,
Check it out,
just
and
for you.
you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. You'll be like, "Oh wait, this is actually like some substance. It's not just porn." You know?
Right, right. Yeah, I think Kim Kardashian, she had done one recently, like maybe a year ago or a couple months
Mm.
ago, and she was saying how like Playboy has changed a little bit. You know, it's got.
Mm.
She did mention it's going back to like a classier side,
It's
which
just more. It's just a little more refined. It's not so much legs open kind of vibe.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and I another question for you: what what as far as the transition has been, what are some things that you would tell yourself before you got there? Like, do you have any like things you see in hindsight now? Like, is there
Yeah,
any
I
advice you
think.
would give somebody that was moving to New York and was like, oh, I can't
Mhm.
wait to be in this photographer, this model, this actor? Like, what advice would you give them or yourself before moving?
I would say don't rely on your goal to make you happy. Just enjoy the process. That's it. Because
Okay.
you every goal I would try to get and I would get, it just never made me happy. I was just always next, next, next. And so once I took a step back and just kind of like rode the wave and enjoyed it, it's just everything falls into place. So just don't freak out. Don't chase, don't obsess. Just, enjoy it. That's what I would say.
All right. Well, EJ, it's been a great conversation with you, man. Um, I miss you. I haven't seen you in such a long time,
I know.
but
When you get a break, you should come out here,
we'll go
bro.
ahead and 1,000%. I would love to come out there and visit you and
Yeah,
give New York another shot again. But hey, man, have an awesome day. Thanks for coming on,
appreciate it.
and I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, thank you.